Put too much on. I don't know what to do about this. It's now 9:05. I'd like to call this Sewage and Water Board Finance Administration Committee to order. Now, Special Counsel, please call the roll.
Director Sloss,
I'm here.
Director Howard, Director Pacho,
Here.
Director Guzman, Director Markowitz. Here. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay. I did try Director Howard and went directly to voicemail. I suspect she's trying to figure out how to talk or something. But why don't we don't approve minutes, do we?
No, we can go straight to presentation, our
I
financial,
was thinking I'm trying to get some things to do that we could do before
the presentation.
the presentation. I don't see anything right now. So let's start with the presentation, please.
All right, good morning to the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on our September financials. We're staying very busy with all the major projects and the budget, working on the fiscal 24 to have a draft pulled together by the end of the month to share with the committee. We can do like a standalone meeting on our fiscal 24 O&M and capital budget. So we'll have that for you later this month. I'm going to present some highlights on the September numbers. If we could,
Good collections.
Our revenues for September, the operating revenue is $22.2 million, $209.5 million year to date, and pretty much tracking on the top line revenue. Drainage revenue is $67.9 million. So we're on pace on the revenue side. Expenses were $24.3 million for September operating expenses, and then $248.3 through September year to date. So you see that large favorable variance is from our conservative budgeting expenses, and we're kind of breaking that down to about $8 million of true operations, $32 million of non-cash and depreciation type expenses, $21 million in administration and others that relates to the timing of new hires. So we'll continue to monitor these expenses. If we look below in the water, sewer, drainage breakdown, this time last year we were at $240 million. So we are a little higher than September 2022 year to date. So we'll need to continue to monitor. And again, we budget these conservatively to protect our debt service coverage ratios and cash on hand. For cash collections, the October number is $23.5 million for the month, up a little bit. September, $22.3 million. Both of those were exceeding our monthly average for 23. And on the dashboard, I'd like to highlight the line 9, the cash on hand was higher. Water 224, sewer 255. So this was higher from some FEMA reimbursements for the transmission main projects. Came in, we had already paid out the cash and then got reimbursement. So again, we target these to be well over the 90 required by the bond covenant, and 125 is the internal target. So these were much higher than that.
Could I ask a question on that slide? I noticed that the water and sewer both are down from the prior year, but we have more accounts than we did the prior year. Man, that's terrible.
So for line 9, the days cash on hand?
Right.
Which line?
Well, actually, no. Sorry. Line 2 is what I meant. Revenue per account. If I said cash on hand, I shouldn't have. Is lower than the year before, but we were over 140,000 accounts. I was curious why we would have less revenue per account, if you know that, year over year.
Let's see.
And just less revenue with more accounts as well. Maybe it's something.
Yeah, the accounts should be about flat, but I'll look at that because of the revenue year over year should be pretty close to the same. But let me check the number. Get back to you on that.
And while we're here, please note Director Howard has joined us. Thank you.
Also on the dashboard, line 17 and 18 are receivables, both the net number and then the past due receivables, which we track are lower than the same time, September of 2022. And then we continue to do a number of disconnect notices and disconnect orders. So there was 1,135 service orders for disconnects, which is the bottom line, line 27.
Are those majority of residential, the disconnects?
Primarily because of the composition of our accounts are primarily residential, but there will be some commercial and other, in addition to residential, but primarily residential.
Resident.
We'll talk about receivables a little more in a couple slides. On debt obligations, we had the normal activity with the spin down of our sewer bonds primarily. We've also begun spending on the drainage tax bond for the West Power Complex. The contract 1415 is the primary contract for the major foundation work. So we've begun to spend that, and we'll continue to spend down that 45 million drainage tax bond. Our capital spending was 25.1 million for the month of September. It was higher for the transmission main projects, some large payments and invoices on those large transmission main projects. And then during the month, we had 3.4 million appropriated for new capital. And then on the grant side, we had about 16.35 million grant reimbursements for the month of September, which is primarily the JIRR program with the city.
Great. So if our capital budget for the year was a base of 440, let's say, plus the possibility of an extra 77 million, are you saying we've only spent 120 million, or what's the distinction between appropriation versus disbursement columns?
Yes, yeah. Disbursement would be actual cash out the door. Appropriation would be the going forward with the project plan that might be a year or two, 18 months. So that spending will happen over a longer period of time.
So which column or columns do you look at versus the 517? Is it the sum of those two, or just the year-to-date disbursements?
Just appropriations, 179 million compared to the 440.
So we've only obligated or appropriated, is that
That's right.
another word?
That's right.
179 million.
Yeah, it's lower than the project list. That's right.
So it doesn't appear that we're going to come close to spending the 440
Yes.
in the last quarter, is that
Yes.
right?
That's right.
So we don't have to worry about finding or securing or confirming the extra 77 million at this point?
Right, because projects are moving to the right.
Is that just based on human resource constraints and whatnot, mostly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're not gonna, I mean, at this rate, we might do half of what we planned for the year, capital-wise.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, that's pretty significant. Thank you.
How does that compare with prior years, you know?
It's
Seems to
been
me that's what it
similar.
always is.
The last few years, questions come up because the plan is a project list that not all of it gets greenlit, move forward in that year, but over a multi-year period, certain projects that are truly funded that are there, are going to happen. Like the sewer consent decree projects are going to get bid and award because that's a deadline to meet that by October 2025.
And so if we're only making half of it right now, what does that do to that, are standing under that deadline?
Again, sewer consent decree is on track and those contracts are going out. So it's sort of project by project specific facts and circumstances as to what is mandatory. So we're staying on track with that.
I assume our budget is somewhat aspirational. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But if we have projects in there that we put in, that we would do, if we had funding to do it, we'd be able to accomplish them. Absent that, we can't. And I don't know. That raises a different question.
There is funding.
But there's
There was
funding.
budget.
Well, you just said the sewer, you're gonna get the funding, you think, but not everything in there is funded. I thought you just said it a moment ago.
Yeah. We'll talk about this in the capital budget meeting, but there's different groups of projects that are more aspirational in nature that are dependent on PAYGO capital funding, but each year our PAYGO is limited.
Are
So
you talking about more of the 77?
that would be similar, yes, the 77.
And the 440 was definitely budgeted and funded. right?
Right.
Okay,
funding source.
just to clarify for Paul.
I got it wrong.
Okay,
Sorry.
so why, if we're, I'm a little confused by why we're only half, not even halfway there. And if this is a pattern, what does it say about our budgeting? I mean, if we're just like this year, I'd understand it, but if we're consistently doing this, isn't there something off in the budgeting process?
Well, you have to kind of break it down project by project and look at those facts that go with each of those. The project, the 440 could have been a little aggressive in terms of what actually gets appropriated and bid into a contract. There could have been, contractor capacity issues, other types of delays. The JIR program, we were estimating this time last year, how much would go forward. That's tied in with DPW, the city. So there's several different factors, but I mean, it's a good conversation. We're in budget season to kind of like look back and analyze where the numbers are, where they're coming out to where we thought they would be.
Yeah,
I had the same kind of question on expenses, that we seem to be consistently way under expenses. Is that a budgeting issue or something else going on there?
Yeah, I think so. Like budgeting, conservatively for contingencies that may or may not come through, depending on hurricane season, depending on all sorts of mechanical breakdowns and things. But again, we need to protect for bonding capacity a certain amount of expenses. But if we year over year are coming in ahead, then we ought to adjust the budget.
Because it seems to be that way in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we're looking at that in the budget preparation process.
As a CFO, I'd be less concerned or more relieved that we're conservatively budgeting for expenses. What concerns me is wanting to understand what the operational or organizational constraints are about why we're not able to spend the capital dollars that are there for these much needed and critical infrastructure projects that I think is what we're trying to get support for. So I think it's worth really being able to get some tight talking points around what the key constraints are from keeping us from spending and putting to use monies that are there and budgeted for these capital projects. But on the other hand, I'm glad that we budget so conservatively on the operating expenses that we come in under. That means we're not going to scramble to make payroll at the end of the year or anything like that. But on the other side, I have the opposite concern on the capital side.
I know everybody's busy doing an analysis of what happened here. I think is in order. I think part of our expense that has historically been trying to hire people, right? We budget for a certain workforce and we're able to fill it. And there are reasons why we don't want to not budget for that, even if we don't think we're going to fill it, I believe. So, anyway.
Yeah, all good points. So we'll make a note. Next slide on the change order summary. There was really minimal activity in the capital job change orders. There was one contract wanted to touch on, this paving contract. It's actually an O&M contract, but I show it here in the middle, that line 17. So this is contract 8168, which is a paving contract that Steve's team has been very busy working through, catching up on backlog of open paving cuts throughout the city. So we've previously added funds to this contract, and what we're doing here is a $3.2 million change order to increase additional funding on this contract, and that's being funded by the IAB, $4 million that was dedicated to really drive down the backlog of paving cuts. This is a task-based contract, so we're adding work orders, and this funding gets us through the rest of fiscal 23, the first couple months of fiscal 24, and both legal and procurement looked at the change order terms. We continue with the same pricing and approve that. So we have that for the committee to ratify. But this will be the last change order for this contract. We're going to be bidding a new contract for the majority of fiscal 24 to again focus on this paving cut is very, very topical, or a topic that gets brought to our attention from just being able to get around the city and deal with all open paving cuts that are out there too long. But this particular contractor has produced a lot of positive results. So again, we're just trying to drive down the backlog and get as much done as we can.
I think that'll make citizens happy.
If there are any other questions, just want to cover a few highlights on the customer experience slides. Our customer served in September were 44,671. The average call wait time was down to a little bit at 3 minutes, 36 seconds for phone-related customer service. The graphs on payment arrangement shutoffs are fairly similar trends, lots of activity on these. And then on billing, there were 133,236 bills issued during September, 102,235 payments. Both are lower from the previous month. So again, that's a focus area. And then on the payment side, the collections, you can see sort of a flat trend over the past 12 months or so. And in this area, I wanted to mention to the committee, we're very excited. We have an executive fellow that's joined Sewage and Water Board from a not-for-profit that provides executive leadership. And the project is specific to aged customer receivables and revenue recovery. Her name's Carolyn Jones. She's been a CFO and been parts of organizations, large healthcare type, large billing systems. So she's going to help us be able to tackle this sort of challenge we have and all the things we normally have been talking about in terms of customer affordability, the governance constraints, and then just the consumer payment plans and the consumer payment behaviors, whether or not our bill is treated as a non-discretionary item every month and paid on a regular basis versus some type of discretionary spending patterns. So we got to sit down with her. She'll be introducing her to the committee, and she'll be able to come forward and talk about some recommendations. But this is a 12-month fellowship. Very excited to have the help and just targeted efforts on this topic that we've talked about a lot.
Sounds great.
And then just to share the numbers on past due accounts, there's 53.4 million as of the end of September. It's down about 449,000, mainly driven by the reduction you see there in residential. So those past due accounts reduced 724,000 for residential. And then the disputed accounts, we were down just a little bit at about 4,700. This is an area that we talked about as alternate media reading strategy got going. At the end of last year, we expected to see an increase in accounts, customers that call in with high bills and ask for an investigation. So we're currently looking at the processes, working closely with Renee's team and meeting weekly to basically prioritize and kind of triage, because there tends to be a backlog situation because you have new requests coming in on a daily basis. So if we need to basically improve and work on this backlog so that as we get into the smart metering rollout, it's not sort of clouding the issue for customers as they're now going to be getting bills that are read through a smart meter. So we'll continue to work on that and report back to the committee. So happy to answer any other questions on September. That's all I have prepared.
Any questions? No. Thank you, Greg. Excuse me. Now we'll move on to the General Superintendent's recommendations.
All right, good morning. Steve Nelson, Deputy General Superintendent, standing in for Ron Spooner this morning. We have 4 contract awards, 1 change order by ratification, 1 change order by approval, 2 contract amendments, and 2 final acceptances. Looking at the contractor awards, we'll read those in globo and answer any questions if folks have them along the way. The first is R1472023. That's award of contract YW230067. This is for the furnishing of meter boxes and meter box parts between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and AY McDonald Manufacturing. This is a one-year contract with a one-year renewal. There were 2 bids received. AY McDonald was the low at $1.2 million. The next contract is R1142023. That's award of contract 30255. This is for the Carrollton Basin number 14 sewer rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Fleming Construction LLC. This is part of our EPA consent decree work, which is on track to be completed by 2025. And there were 4 bids received, and as you can see, Fleming was the low bidder. Next contract is R1152023. This is for award of contract 30256. Also EPA consent decree related work in the Carrollton Basin number 15 for sewer rehabilitation work between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hard Rock Construction LLC. As you can see, there were also 4 bids on this project as well, Hard Rock being the low at $6.2 million. The final contract for award is R1322023. This is award of contract YG23001. This is for furnishing and delivering of gasoline and diesel fuel between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Lard Oil Company of Denham Springs. This is a 2-year base contract with 2 one-year renewals. We received 2 bids, and Lard was the low at $1.72 million.
We, well, can we get a motion and discussion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion, Janet?
It's just a correction, that second, the second from the bottom paragraph needs to be changed in that one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay,
We'll
somebody
make
just
sure that
forgot to
gets addressed.
Replace it.
The first, I have a question about the first one, which I wasn't in the packet that I printed, but maybe it was added later. Is that gray a capital project or an L&M budgeted project?
It's capital.
And where would you have put it on the sheet? Like miscellaneous, doesn't seem to fit neatly into
I think the equipment,
meter part replacements and whatnot. Maybe under- Maybe under
I
replacement.
think it's line 21, the vehicle equipment purchases. But
Okay. Thanks.
All right, is there any other discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
No public comment. All in favor, please, so signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, bringing us to change order by ratification.
We have 1 change order by ratification, that is for R1082023. This is ratification to change order number 4 for contract 1418. This is the Carrollton Water Plant Utility Rack project between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and M.R. Pittman Group. This is composed of 3 field change orders 6, 7, and 8, which includes a credit for the splicing of piles and 2 issues related to unforeseen conditions.
Is there which is an increase of, sorry,
Net increase of $115,579.37.
in the contract of 32, 18, 245. Is there a motion to approve ratification resolution, to ratify resolution R108-2023?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on that? Is there public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This is another change order, R119-2023.
Change order by approval. This is R1192023. Approval of change order number 2 for contract 8168 for repaving open cuts in driveways and sidewalks resulting from the repair of underground utilities between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and CMG Pipelines. As mentioned before, this is an increase in $3.2 million. This will be the final change order on this project before we rebid for a new contract. And the goal, again, is for us to reduce our paving backlog going into the new year so that we can eliminate that in 2024.
Is there a motion to approve change order resolution R119-2023?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved, seconded. Is there discussion on this? No discussion. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor, please so signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Bringing us to contract amendments, R 133, 2023, R 134, 2023.
Thank you. There are two contract amendments. We will take these in globo and answer questions at the end if there are any. The first is for R 133-2023. This is authorization of amendment number 11 for the agreement for design and engineering services for the waterline replacement program between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Arcadis US Inc. This is an extension based on the updated DPW and JIRR current program schedule. The consultant agreement would be completed in Q1 of 2026. The contract extension end date will be March 9th of 2026.
There's a second one.
The second one, excuse me, R 134-2023. This is authorization of amendment number 10 to the agreement for design and engineering services for the waterline replacement program between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Digital Engineering and Imaging, Inc. This is the same situation as R 133-2023. It extends the end date to April 12th of 2027.
And no financial impact on that. Is there a motion to approve R 133, 2023 and R 134, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there public comment on this? No public comment. Shocked. All in favor, please so signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bringing us to two final contract acceptances, R 113, 2023, 120, 2023.
Thank you. Two final acceptances. We'll read these in global. R 113-2023. This is the authorization of final acceptance and closeout of contract 2156, which is TM005 Eden and Grape Transmission Main Projects between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services LLC. This is the final acceptance of Sewerage and Water Board JIRR Transmission Main Project at Eden and Grape Street. And R 120-2023, this is the authorization of final acceptance and closeout of contract 2142 for water main replacements and extension at scattered locations throughout Orleans Parish between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Wallace C. Drennan LLC. This is the final acceptance of water main maintenance contract work at various locations throughout Orleans Parish.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve contract final acceptance resolutions R 113, 2023 and R 120, 2023?
So moved.
Been moved, is there a second? Moved and properly seconded. Is there any public comment?
No, sure.
All in favor, please so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Good news, we have the normal information items included in your packet. I'd encourage you to read those, study those at your leisure. I had a proposal, I'm not sure if this is breaking some rule, but I'd like to have added to the agenda a new business topic to the extent that we have new business. So maybe, do we have to vote on that or something? Okay, thank you. All right, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
No, if there are no other matters, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned, thank you.